Welcome back to Real Talk and ELT. It has been a minute, my people. I was busy doing things that are now over, which is actually quite wonderful for me because I'm really excited to be doing what I need to be doing, which is working with teachers, training teachers, working with students, doing all sorts of fun stuff. So now that I'm back into it, get ready to get sick of me because I got a lot to say. Okay, so first things first, I have taken on a ridiculous amount of CELTA courses, and now that I'm doing that more on not really a full-time basis, but like heavily part, let's call it a heavy part-time basis. Heavy part-time is what we're gonna go with. There's some things that I need to kind of clarify here, and hopefully it'll be helpful for people who are considering taking the CELTA course, because I'm just going to kind of step by step my way through. So this video is going to be talking about what CELTA trainers wish trainees knew before they were starting CELTA. So there's a claim out there, and this is true. I can't say that this is untrue, but let me just dive into it. I have notes over here because otherwise I get very distracted. If any of you know me, I will go off on a tangent. So the claim is that CELTA is an entry-level course, so anyone can do it. True, but, and there is a but, there is work to be done during the CELTA. It is not a participation trophy. Okay, let's just clarify that. CELTA is not a participation trophy. You can't just show up and say, I'm going to get my certificate. That's not going to happen. So there are some rigors to the course that you need to know about. First of all, if you're doing it intensively, like 1 month, just forget social life and forget everything else. Just focus on that, get it done, and then go back to your normal life. If you're doing it part-time, I caution people who are working full-time and thinking that they're just going to, read a couple articles and show up whatever the day and time is that you have to show up for. Part-time courses, usually people struggle with, how do I say this in a very nice way? Struggle with a little bit more because they think or they underestimate the amount of time they need to dedicate, especially in the beginning of the course. By the end of the course, you're kind of used to it and you're in a flow and you're fine. But at the beginning of the course, everything's new. There's a lot of stuff going on. We have to give you orientation. We have to get you doing lesson observations. If your center is using the Moodle, then you have to do the Moodle input sessions. If you're doing your CELTA at a center that does the input live, then you have to participate in those sessions. There's teaching practice, there's lesson observation, there's assisted lesson planning, there's getting feedback, there's writing your assignments. There's a lot of things to do. And in the beginning, it can be quite overwhelming for people. There have been several instances in multiple centers, not just one center or another center, multiple centers that I've been working in multiple countries where candidates start and they go, oops, I didn't anticipate for the number of hours that I need to dedicate to this course. And then, of course, they run into trouble. So usually the part-time courses that I'm running, usually it's about 5 to 6 hours you have to be there per week. 5 to 6 hours sat in front of a screen. Just hopefully you've got like a nice little like cup of tea, get a beverage, get a little, I typically I typically make myself like a nice little pot of tea, get some water, and you're gonna be sat in front of a screen for a little bit. You'll have bathroom breaks and stuff like that. It's not like you're handcuffed to your desk, but you're going to be sitting there for a good 5 to 6 hours. So if you think, oh, like it's a session, but I can walk around and stuff, not really. You kind of have to pay attention. There's this one little loopy here that's just, okay, well, we'll see how that goes. Anyways, sorry. I can like see myself and then there's this one just little loop of hair. It's still drying, so it's not complete. Anyways, here we go. So you're going to be sat there in front of a screen for 5 to 6 hours. Then on top of that, what usually happens the first week, you have to get into your Moodle. If you're doing online CELTA, you're probably going to be using Moodle at some point. I mean, most centers use it. So then you're going to have to log in there and you're going to have to do some assigned units in the Moodle. The assigned units they're not super fast. You can click through them if you want to, but it's not really going to be the best use of your time. I would say that you're going to spend like an hour and a half doing a unit. An hour to an hour and a half. But I mean, it depends if you take notes or if you're just kind of clicking through and participating. But there's like little text boxes. You have to write things in there. There's videos to watch. There's explanations. They give you, kind of the typical stuff that you do in an online course, an asynchronous course. So you got to go through those. Then you've got to start preparing your lessons, and lesson plans for CELTA take some time. They do, because you've got main aims, sub aims, you're anticipating problems. Some people put communicative aims there, some people don't. It depends on the center. Usually you have to anticipate problems for classroom management, then you have to anticipate problems for language, you have to do language analysis, you have to do step-by-step procedure, timing, stage aims, and then you have to prepare your materials too. And usually you're going to be teaching every week. There's a rotation every week with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 weeks in the course. So every week you're going to be preparing a pretty complete lesson plan and the materials and doing the Moodle. And then you're going to be delivering that lesson plan during those 5 to 6 hours where you're stuck in front of the screen. Then you're going to be watching your friends deliver their lesson plans, deliver their TP points. And then you're going to get some feedback on it. And then you're going to plan your next lessons with your tutors. And then the whole cycle starts again every week. And then you also have 4 assignments. And the 4 assignments are not... I also think people underestimate these. Listen, they're not difficult or hard, but they're time consuming. So you have to go through, you have to pay attention to detail. There's a word count. You have to go and find your references. Usually courses give you access to a library so that you can research the points that you have to include into your assignments. There's 4 assignments. Centers do them in different orders depending on what center you do it, but there's an assignment for language related tasks, meaning you're going to be analyzing some target language from a text. Usually they give you the language, you have to analyze it within that context, and you have to be very concise about it because again, you have word limits. It's not like you can write willy-nilly all over your assignment. You've got to be pretty direct and to the point. And then you've got one where you have to focus on the learner. So you have to talk about a specific learner. Oh, while you're observing, you have to take notes on learners, and then you have to write an assignment based on the learner that you're observing during your TPs. And then you have to analyze their errors, things that they do well, things that they make mistakes on, or are just production problems. And then you have to suggest materials or activities for them to correct those problems. And the third assignment is a skills assignment. So you have to use authentic material. Use the authentic material, develop your own lesson plan using stages. And again, all of this is, you can't just say, well, I'm going to do this next. Why? Why does it make sense to do that? Who says it makes sense? Where in your references in the library did you find that that was a good idea? And then finally, when you get towards the end of the course, you're going to do an assignment on things that you learned from the classroom. That is not a therapy paper. Let me explain to you. Lessons from the classroom is not a therapy paper. It's not you putting down your feelings. It's you putting down things that are objective. So over the course of the course of CELTA, you should have evidence, written evidence from tutors, oral evidence from your peers during feedback, evidence from the classroom of things that are your strengths and things that are areas that you need to improve on still. And all of those need to be cited and referenced and put into this assignment for. And then also you have to create an action plan, not just I'll get better or I'm going to start reading. No, you have very specific things that are areas of improvement. What are you going to do to improve that specific area? Where are you going to go? What are you going to do? How are you going to measure if you're improving in that or not? So all of this is the workload of CELTA. Is it an entry-level course? Yeah. Can anybody do it? Absolutely. But if you're thinking about it, don't underestimate it. Because there is a lot of reflective practice that happens. There's a lot of things that are like totally new for a lot of candidates that are coming into it. There's things that might be something that is familiar, but you haven't really done it before. And remember, CELTA is a prescriptive course. So CELTA around the world has key features that are in every single center that you go to is going to have those key features. However, I live in Brazil, so you know we have the motorcycles that. Anyways, however, what was I talking about? Oh, prescriptive course. So there are certain things that you need to be able to do. For example, if you're a language teacher, you need to be able to clarify language effectively and consistently over the course of your 8 or 10 lessons, depending on how your center divides it. It's usually 8. Most typical, it's 8. So are you able to clarify language? Are you able to deliver skills lessons? Are you able to give instructions, set things up, make a lesson student-centered? Are you varying your techniques? All of these things are not isolated to one or another center. These are things that are international. So it's a prescriptive course in the fact that you need to be able to do certain things that the Moodle will teach you, that your tutors will help you with, that input sessions are good for. But you can't just willy-nilly your way through it. That's the idea. Can anybody do it? Yes. Should you do it without the idea that you're going to have to dedicate some time to it? No, because you're going to get very frustrated. I've seen it before. I'll probably see it again, that candidates will come in and have a different expectation because they didn't really read the CELTA guide. There's a CELTA guide. You can go on Cambridge's website and they will give you the CELTA guide of all the things that you need to do and more or less the dedicated hours that you need to. I mean, it's there, but people just don't really investigate it, or they underestimate how much time it's going to take. So yeah, there is a blog too. I can put it in the notes of this episode here that discusses the relevance and the demands of candidates being well prepared. And I think one of the major things is that you have to know that you're gonna spend some hours during your week dedicated to doing all of this stuff, and you got to be organized about it. You can't just do it in between your classes and stuff like that, because there's some things like writing assignments. There's some things that you have to sit down and kind of read a little bit, write a little bit, go back to the thing. Okay, what did that say? Go back here. I mean, you can't really do that. I don't know. Most people, I can't really do that just while I'm waiting for a student to show up or on my lunch break. So that's my what I would really love trainees to know before starting the course, it's a prescriptive course. Anyone can do it. You have to have zero classroom experience to do it. However, be very well informed of the time commitment, both inside synchronously doing TPs and things like that, and asynchronously things that you have to do on your own, reading, assignments, lesson planning, etc., etc. That would be. And we ask you multiple times in the interview if you're organized and you understand that there is a time commitment component for the CELTA. So don't kid yourself if you think that you can just breeze through it. You're not really going to get a lot out of it, and you're just going to get frustrated. So that's that for this episode. Stay tuned. I'm going to do a whole series of a bunch of stuff about CELTA. Anyways, talk to you soon. Bye.